Good afternoon, Dr. Sharma. It is so good to see you once again for another session on mental health.
Good afternoon, Dr. Vasconcelos. Good to be back with you. Look forward to today's topic.
Well, Doc, today is June 25th, 2020. We see that around the world, we are being impacted by COVID-19. And one of the things we are seeing, especially in many countries at a leadership level, we see some behavior that can be classified as a psychopathic person. In terms of an individual, what are some of the characteristics of a person with psychopathic behavior?
The persons with these behavior traits actually form what would call the dark triad of three very negative personality traits. Among negative personality traits, these are probably the worst because they are, in layman term, described by terms like meanness of the character, which will fit in with the Machiavellianism type of personality. Then we have the narcissistic personality traits of self-grandiosity, believing that the individual thinks they're the best in the world and everybody should dote on them, follow what they say without question. And then we have the very dangerous psychopathic personality, which is characterized by lack of conscience. So this person can commit atrocious crimes and behave as if nothing has happened that is abnormal. They can go to sleep quite comfortably with these behaviors committed. And I'm talking about horrific crimes in the world, seeing some of these terrific monsters in our existence, in our history as leaders, and it's truly disturbing. We recognize them not as psychopaths in the diagnostic classification, but we call them the antisocial personality disorders. But it's now it's actually quite rightly described as psychopathic behavior and traits by the American Psychiatric Association. So we're getting there to an understanding that these people are extremely dangerous. We need to make people aware of those characteristics. They can be separated into personality traits rather than the pure disorders. So people can carry one out of those three traits as a predominant type of behavior. Antisocial behavior, conduct disorders, we see that happen. And then in children or young people, antisocial personality disorders, we call those in the old days, but um, they are very, very mean, dangerous, and bad people. But they can pose it themselves, you see, Doc, as very charming and caring, and sometimes you see that type of defense where they use reaction formation, where they can almost look very pious or sanctimonious, So sometimes very difficult to pick them up and very hard, especially if they're in leadership positions where we expect them to have responsibility as part of their behavior. Very difficult people.
Doc, what would you say can someone do that's caught up in a situation where obviously these people who are displaying this kind of behavior that are in a position of authority? What would be your recommendation for those who are subject to this type of environment or society?
So they do impact on persons who tend to be more vulnerable, who are more easily influenced, people who are seeking the feeling of self-importance because they lack it for themselves. They want to be linked to somebody of importance, so they may be linked to that person, Twitter's account or a web page or an email account, and they feel really happy or important that they have that linkage to this very famous individual, no matter how infamous they are, how vile they behave. They feel credited in terms of who they are. So these people who tend to be attracted to these persons with psychopathic traits or personality disorders of a very severe nature seem to be seeking that importance, that kinsmanship. They also have deep-seated behaviors or aggressive behaviors or hostile behaviors that they may have covered up or not experienced consciously. And so having an opportunity to have a justification for that acting out of those behaviors is important to them. So they're given the okay then by their leader, who they see as so important, so uh, credible in their behaviors, that if they call on them to do atrocious acts, they would obey and do it. So the question was, how do we help or prevent those persons from becoming a victim? They're the ones who are being used as utensils, as we sometimes say, of these vicious psychopaths. And it's kind of very sad or depressing to say, but it's not much we can do apart from what we're doing now and hoping that people will open their minds to the truth. We have to call on people around those individuals to say the truth and constantly bring it home to them, that it becomes a new message that, look, if you're thinking of acts of aggression based on what somebody's telling you, it's not right. You cannot go down that road. You know, a lot of people do very horrific terrorist acts, and they do it many a time because they're influenced by leaders who would not do that themselves. They're not going to wear a backpack and blow up themselves, but they're influencing the minds of the vulnerable, the young, using maybe religion. They use many, many things that seem to be proper. They use the words like the law, they may even use the words like the Constitution and articles. And so the persons who are vulnerable will be influenced. So it's got to be a reminder that bad behavior is not tolerated. The system itself needs to find ways not only to punish, but help to change those people's mindset. Even people we know who are being brainwashed up can have a mindset change. If they're being brainwashed in one direction, there is a possibility they can be changed, not brainwashed for the better, but to be convinced that there is a better way in life, that human beings have to rise above aggression and hostility and atrocious acts against each other, to find a better way to deal with problems, not to act on behaviors of low self-esteem. But the truth of the matter is, those persons who do that, they are vulnerable. And sometimes they may have an intellectual disability in the sense that the intellectual level is not enough to comprehend argument. You know, so I heard somebody tell me the other day, it's almost impossible talking to somebody whose brain cannot grasp what you're saying in an intellectual manner. How do you convince them? Sometimes you have to tell them, if you do this bad behavior, this will be the consequence. So consequences that are appropriate need to be developed. People need to learn that there should be zero tolerance for aggressive, hostile acts against other people. There's no justification for none of that. So I think the system of justice has to be strong, has to be caring and compassionate. It's not only about putting people into a prison cell and locking them away. That system is not working now. It's got to be a better model, a better way of change through therapy, through group sessions, and it will happen. It can happen. We see that happening. So there is some hope. I think the real big message for me is that whilst we may have lost a generation of people to very negative thinking, we still have a new generation coming. And those are the people we know that introducing programs like emotional intelligence training will help our young people from becoming bullies when they become leaders, because those programs target the bullies who lack empathy. And these are the ones that develop these significant personality disorders as they become adults.
Doc, very well said. I think it's fair to say that intellectual disability sometimes is self-inflicted, because the
Yeah.
reality is, as you said, sometimes you see a correlation between those who say things that are just not true, and their target audience sometimes reflect a lack of critical thinking, and so they tend to capitalize on those
True.
who perhaps choose not to self-educate to some extent, because we're living in a time where people can find the truth, they can access it, they do not need to go and register at a university. But at the same time, we know it's important for people to, one, reach out and try to get help, to know there's always a way out of a situation, and find the appropriate person, whether to offer the therapy or the medical assistance or mental health, whatever the case might be. There's always help. So, and I thank you for your years and your life and dedicated to educating people, to helping people, to serving. And so I thank you for your dedication. And so, any final thoughts?
Yes, Doc. I would think that we gotta keep the efforts up. We can't throw up our hands in despair. It's a very difficult and very challenging path ahead for all of us. We're seeing the phenomena of aggression all over the place. People who are using wrong words and motivating people to become aggressive because of their own material gain. I think the way to move forward is to work tirelessly with the education system. As you rightly said, education is the key. With the justice system, that we can even educate our leaders in the justice system to change the way we mete out punishment, that it should be moderated with kindness and compassion, that every time a punishment is administered for bad behavior, there should be a possibility of rehabilitation, that the person who has done wrong has the opportunity to learn from the mistakes they made and have a new beginning that they can look forward to. If they feel the door is slammed in their face and the cell is closed and they're now going to be kept as animals in a cage, they will come out learning nothing but animalistic behavior. We are humans, we must move to a higher level. We have a higher calling, and every one of us has that opportunity. So thank you for this opportunity, Dr. Vasconcelos. I look forward again to seeing you come home again at some point soon.
Well, I'm looking forward, Doc. I'm looking forward to visiting Guyana very soon and to serve, and for us to continue our dental, medical, and mental health outreach. I look forward to that. And thank you so much for your service. May God richly bless you, and I look forward to another session very soon.
Thank you, Doc.